In this lesson, we're going to talk about the systems mindset, why it's important, and why you should think about changing your mindset to be more systems oriented or to be more of a systems thinker. The benefit of having a systems mindset is so that you're constantly thinking about how do you build systems that allow you to step away from that task and allow them to operate on autopilot and at scale. You're not just thinking about how can I get this one project done? How can I run payroll? How can I get this website built? You're thinking about next time, how is it going to be easier for me to run payroll? How am I going to be able to get this website out faster? How am I going to produce this same quality with less work or with less investment? And you're constantly thinking about how do you improve the process behind the work that you're doing, which means that you're using energy to lay the framework or the train tracks to make the job easier in the future, instead of each time just building a train that's only good for this one delivery and you'll have to rebuild it again next time. A lot of entrepreneurs become entrepreneurs because they don't like working for somebody else. They like to have full control over their outcome and their lives. And they like the risk-reward ratio of being completely responsible for their outcomes and being able to kind of take responsibility for everything that happens. This becomes tricky when you're trying to hire and grow a team and then actually shed some of that responsibility and delegate it out to the rest of the team, because you actually kind of are moving against the grain for what a lot of entrepreneurs get into business for in the first place, which is to have more control over their business. And so it can be a tricky thing to internalize and to develop as a founder, is this ability to go out and trust that your team is going to make the right decisions and right choices. A couple of things that can help you with this. One is obviously having good processes and good systems. If you have good systems and processes in place, then you should have a lot more trust that the work that your team is doing is going to be performed at a higher level of quality and efficiency, because you've already figured out a lot of the mistakes that they could make and you've encoded those into your system. So hopefully that will avoid those repeated mistakes happening again when new people come in and try and pick up these tasks and projects. Another thing is, like, you just have to let go at some point, in that there is this kind of concept of let the small mistakes happen, let the small failures happen. And at some point, you can't be worrying about every little detail mistake that's happening in the business. If you're the CEO of Bank of America or HSBC, you can't be worrying about somebody that comes in with an incorrect check in some branch in some other city that's not close to you. Like, that's a small mistake that's happening, and you can't be involved, and that's thousands of those are probably happening every day. Like, you can't be involved in every little thing that's happening in the business. You kind of have to figure out what are the important decisions that you as the founder need to be involved with. And generally, as you grow, those are more strategic, more big brushstroke decisions. Another way to think about that is like large allocations of resources versus small little mistakes. And so when you start to hire people, you want to think about, okay, there's different ways that you can think about it, but an easy way actually is like, what is the resource allocation of this problem? So as a founder, you should be thinking about, okay, where am I going to put my marketing budget? Who am I going to hire next? How are we going to expand the business? Are we going to open a new office? Are we going to launch a new product? These are big decisions that probably require lots of resources, and maybe they're big brushstrokes that potentially move the orientation of lots of people in one direction. There's another thing too around doubling down on your strengths. And I'm not good at everything. I'm only good at a few specific things. And I know when there's something that I'm not great at, and when I'm coming up to doing it the 5th or the 10th time, I feel like there's friction and it's not something that I want to do, and it's not something that I'm super passionate about doing. Dealing with contracts is a good example for me. That becomes a trigger for me to say, oh, hey, maybe I can build a system around this or a process around this, and I can outsource it to someone external, I can give to someone in my team, or I can build technology around it. One of the reasons that building processes and systems for my business was so attractive to me is because I'm naturally actually quite lazy, especially when it comes to repetitive tasks and having to do them over and over again. I think it's a bit of an engineer's mindset, but once I come up against the same task, 3, 4, 10, 20 times, I start to think about, how can I not do this anymore? How can I figure out a way that, a machine or that somebody else can do this task for me, instead of me going out and doing the same thing over and over again every day? And this trigger for constantly not wanting to do the same things over and over again is one of the ways that I was able to develop a systems mindset quite organically. But it is something else that you can think about using as an actual strategy in your business. You can take an audit of what you did at the end of the day and say, was there any things that I really didn't like doing that I would love to get off my plate? And those can be things that you can think about, how could I build a system for? To sum it up, here's a quick checklist of points that will help you develop a systems mindset, or points that you should just think about when trying to develop a systems mindset. Trust your team to do the work for you. If you don't trust and you don't delegate, eventually you won't be able to scale. You as the founder, and even employees in your team, should be constantly thinking about, how can I build systems or hire people to no longer do this job anymore? How can I essentially build myself out of a job? Whether you're lazy, whether you're bored, whether you just want more people to do this for you, I often tell my employees in the company, you're not here to do the task. You're here to build a system so that the task can be done on its own and scaled long term. I actually promote a lot of my employees to build themselves out of their job, in that if people in my team can automate or systemize the work that they're doing, they're much more likely to get promoted and moved up within the organization than if they're not able to improve the efficiency and output of their work or their team. So thinking about approaching tasks as, I'm trying to build this as a system versus I'm trying to just do this task or do this project, is a big shift in the way that you can think and the way that you approach doing different projects. This will mean that you'll come up, or you'll identify new opportunities to systemize over time as you ingrain this into a habit, into yourself, into your team, into your culture. And one system will lead to another system, and you'll constantly find new ways that you're able to delegate and automate and outsource different parts of your business. So that's it for lesson 2. Hope you enjoyed the lesson on developing a systems mindset. Your action items for the end of this lesson is to download a copy of the systems mindset checklist and review it frequently to make sure that you are developing a systems mindset and it's something that's at the top of your mind. That's it for now, and I will see you in the next lesson.